Hi everyone, Canoopsy here, and the new 2019 iPad Air is basically the iPad Pro for everyone. It's almost identical in the most important areas, and it costs less. The 2019 iPad Air starts at $500 US, while the iPad Pro starts at $800 US. That's a $300 price difference between these two tablets. And the iPad Air accessories, the Apple Pencil and Smart Keyboard, are also cheaper than the Pro accessories. So the pricing is radically different between the iPad Air and the iPad Pro when you add everything together. Now, these are the older accessories from the previous generation of the iPad Pro, so it's the first generation Apple Smart Keyboard and the first generation Apple Pencil. So the keyboard is a bit clumsy here, not really as sleek as the new Pro keyboard, and it doesn't really cover the back either, so you have to get a case for the back of the iPad. But it does have the ability to actually be used in different angles and positions, which the new iPad Pro keyboard unfortunately can't do. And just like the iPad Pro, the key travel is exactly the same, meaning it's pretty low key travel, but for my usage, I've gotten used to it very quickly and I actually do kind of enjoy it. The Apple Pencil first generation is almost identical to the Apple Pencil second generation, and it works great for writing or drawing, except here it has a glossier coating which is a bit slippery, and there's also really nowhere to store it on the iPad, and charging it is kind of ridiculous looking to this day. So besides the price differences and the accessories, the iPad Pro and iPad Air are incredibly similar, with the only differences being designs, aesthetics, and other luxuries. So the iPad Air looks great. It's thin, it's light, it weighs basically nothing, it's made of glass and aluminum. It's an incredibly well-built tablet for sure. And while it doesn't have the bezel-free futuristic iPad Pro look with Face ID, the bezels are minimal enough and Touch ID is still plenty fast. It's a stunning tablet, and the 10.5-inch display is gorgeous. It gets bright, has true tone, and colors look incredible as well as accurate. The iPad Air doesn't have that 120Hz ProMotion ultra smooth display feature the iPad Pro has, but after switching from the iPad Pro to the iPad Air, I don't really miss it. It's definitely a really cool feature, but not a necessity. One of the slightly bigger omissions here is the lack of USB-C on the iPad Air versus the iPad Pro. You have a Lightning port instead of USB-C, but you do actually have a headphone jack, which the iPad Pro doesn't have. Despite the lack of USB-C, you can still buy Lightning accessories and adapters, so you're still covered there, and if you own an iPhone as your main device, it's one less cable you have to bring around on a daily basis. So you have one Lightning cable for your phone and your tablets, and while USB-C is great, it's not really a feature that's a necessity for everyone as well. In terms of performance, the iPad Air 2019 is running with the A12 Bionic, the same processor as the iPhone XS, XS Max, and XR, while the iPad Pro has the A12X. The iPad Pro on paper is the faster tablet with its new processor, but for my testing, they're kind of the same. I can still edit photos in Lightroom, work on projects, multitask, do video editing in LumaFusion, and it would take a lot of intensive tasks and benchmarks to see any massive performance differences. Basically, the iPad Air performs almost identically to the iPad Pro, and not once have I seen any sort of major lag or long wait times for anything. It's hella fast. The cameras on the iPad Air are definitely a downgrade versus the iPad Pro. It's 8 megapixels on the back and 7 megapixels on the front, but great cameras on a tablet this size are not really a necessity. I've never used my iPad Pro cameras ever. The front camera does work well enough for video calls and FaceTime though, so you're covered there. Battery life on the iPad Air is 10 hours, the same as the iPad Pro, and that basically lasts me a full day of usage at school for writing notes, working on presentations, going on Twitter, and when I get home, enough for Netflix binging and finishing up any extra work. So battery life is pretty much a full day. So in the end, $300 is a pretty large difference between the iPad Pro and the iPad Air 2019. And going with the iPad Air, you're not really missing out on too much at all. You still have a beautiful design, compatibility with the Apple Pencil and Smart Keyboard, top-notch performance, a day of battery life, and all the iPad features you expect are all here. While the iPad Pro does offer other luxuries, that's exactly what they are. They're luxuries, features that are great to have, but not really essentials for an excellent iPad experience. The iPad Air has it all. Now keep in mind, the iPad Pro does go on sale sometimes on Amazon and B&H, linked in the description down below, and you may also want to check the Apple Refurbished site for some deals on previous generations of iPad Pros and older iPads as well. There are definitely some deals there. But if your heart is set on the new 2019 iPad Air, I can 100% recommend it to you as your next tablet or your next iPad. It's great. So what do you think of the new 2019 iPad Air? Is it worth it compared to the iPad Pro? Is it a good deal? What would you change here? Tell me in the comments down below. And big shout out to my boy Finn for helping me with some of the shots in this video. Couldn't have done without him. Be sure to follow his page on Instagram, linked in the description. And thank you for watching.